Howdy, howdy do Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 217.
Yeah.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour. And I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator.
I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes, and it's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Howdy do Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. Hope you've had a cracking week. That you've managed to order something Doctor Who related.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, new listeners, new subs. Hope you're doing well. Long-time listeners, grizzled ancients. Hope you're well. We are going through a couple of little technical gremlins this morning, so if myself or Adam disappear into the time vortex, we'll be back.
It's because we're coming live from the planet Hoth this morning. We've got a sprinkle of snow, ladies and gentlemen, and it's lovely, actually. I'm just looking out my window now. I do feel like I'm on Hoth, waiting for an AT-AT to come over the hill.
Set a course for the Hoth system.
Let's hope some of our Doctor Who listeners are also Star Wars fans, or they'll be thinking, what the blimmin' heck are they all about?
What's all this caper then?
Yeah, what's this Hoth business?
Meant to be a bleeding Doctor Who podcast. Yes, hope you all well. We got some very small chunks of news and merch to get through. And then we're on to our review of the classic that we've wanted to do for many, many years, but for some reason we've never done it. So together we shall be reviewing Genesis of the Daleks. We'll just refer to it as Genesis from here on in, just because I can't be bothered to keep saying Genesis of the Daleks.
of the Daleks, yeah.
Yes. So how have you been, buddy? You been up to anything Doctor Who related?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, I've done a few little bits. I was up in London at the weekend, shot across to the Who shop for a quick browse around there. I haven't been there for a while, and I think because you were talking about it recently on last week's pod, it kind of put it in my mindset. So a quick visit to the Who shop, didn't buy a thing, didn't even go in the museum this time because I was a bit pushed for time. And then shot across town, had a look in FP, which I know you also went to. We'll come on to that in a minute. At separate times, we weren't together. I was there for a birthday bash. So I was kind of fitting in a few Doctor Who shops while I was in London, as you do, thinking, yeah, I'll get to the birthday drinks, but just a quick browse first of all.
Of course.
And then that was that. And yeah, I didn't really get anything because there was just nothing. But again, we'll come on to that when we talk about your experience in FP. Apart from that, I've been doing a bit of Doctor Who reading this week. So I've been reading the Tom Baker interview in the latest Doctor Who magazine, which is brilliant, actually.
Oh, okay.
So really, because he's got this new book out called Scratch Man, which is a Doctor Who book. He's doing quite a bit of publicity for it. And I think can't remember when it was, but his last interview in Doctor Who magazine, he was like that was supposed to be his final interview. Now he's done this other new interview, which is great. I mean, we never want Tom to do a final interview, so that's really good. It's a really good interview. Actually, he talks about all sorts, and it cracks me up when he gets asked the question. He sort of starts off by answering it and then just goes on a whole different. He's just so full of stories, isn't he? It's like, yeah, he's just so entertaining. So I've been reading that interview, and I've literally just got my hands on the book as well, Doctor Who Scratchman, which is sort of I've been really looking forward to it because there's a bit of a sort of story behind it, isn't it? It's sort of something that him and Ian Marter came up with a rough idea because they were going to make a Doctor Who film, and it, back in the day, and then it never happened. And I don't know where I read this because I can't find it since, but I think, didn't he find the idea or the rough sketches in his loft or something? I don't know.
Found him somewhere.
I'm starting to think I dreamt that because I can't find out where I saw that. But anyway, somewhere along the line, he's got together the ideas with James Goss, who did a couple of Doctor Who books as well, and they've finished it off, and it's just literally just been released. And I've read the first 2 chapters, and I'm absolutely loving it. I really hope it continues in that vein because I still have horrific memories of Tom's book, The Boy Who Kicked Pigs, which started off good and then just was just one of the weirdest books ever. But yeah, this is what I've read of this so far is great, and because he knows the characters of like Sarah and Harry so well, he writes, the dialogue is just absolutely spot on, and you can just hear their voices in your head when reading it. It is literally like stepping back in time and being with the Doctor, Sarah and Harry, and it's brilliant. And I'm only 2 chapters in, so
cool.
I've been really enjoying that. Have you got it yet? It's literally only just been released. Have you got it yet?
No, not yet. I'll pick it up.
Okay, yeah. It's out in hardback. I normally wait for the paperback, to be honest, because they're cheaper. But I saw it and it looked really nice. It's got this sort of unusual sort of blood red cover. It looks like a sort of Hammer horror book.
It looks cool, doesn't it, actually?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So I had to get it, and so I've been reading a bit of that, and I'm just absolutely loving it. So I bet I was quite restrained in London. Didn't really buy much, but got the book, and as I said, Doctor Who magazine dropped through the letterbox, and I've been reading that. So mostly reading from me this week.
Cool.
Doctor Who wise. What about you, mate? I know you were up in London, but you were with the fam, so you were doing your own thing. But you did go to FP, didn't you? I saw your picture of the cabinet, the cabinet of Doctor Who stuff they have in there.
The Cabinet of Doom.
I saw the cabinet as well, and I did laugh when I saw your picture online a couple of hours later. I was like, I had similar thoughts when I looked in there as well. Yeah,
it's a shame, really, because I was in London with the fam, and we were going to go to the Who shop, and we're meant to be over that part of London, but we can't.
I was convinced I'd bump into you because I'd said to you, I'm going to be in London. You were like, I was doing my birthday thing. You were with the family, so I was convinced I'd bump into you, but we didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what time you were at the Who shop. At FP.
Quite early.
Okay, yeah. We didn't go there till, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock or something. But the cabinet for the Doctor Who. So, long-time listeners will know that we've had an ongoing grievance with Forbidden Planet and the bloody cabinet in the London Megastore for the Doctor Who section. Now, just get rid of the bloody thing.
It's as bad as it's ever been, isn't it? I mean, it's been bad before, but this time it is literally half empty. It's incredible. Unless they're waiting for some new merch. But because that's the thing that surprised me. I was convinced, and I would have put money on it. I was convinced they'd have about 1,000 of the new 5-inch 13th Doctor figure, because they've just got them online, so they've got them in stock online. I thought the shop will be full of them. I'm going to walk in, it's going to be wall-to-wall 13th Doctor figures. Not a single one.
No, nothing.
No, nothing. I mean, they had them in the Who shop. They had loads in the Who shop, but so I expected to see it round with them, and I expected them to be in the cabinet. But no, they'd bunged a Barbie doll in there, the Doctor Who Barbie doll, couple of Titans scattered across it, and that was it, wasn't it? There was nothing else. They didn't even put a Sonic in there, did they?
No, but there was one of the old, they went through a phase of releasing some kitchenware. They had like a teapot and a milk jug.
Yeah, they're about 8 years old. Yeah,
really old. They had the old Cyberman with the sort of light teal coloured background.
Yeah,
just plonked leisurely there. And that's it. And then half of it, there's just nothing at all. It's only half full, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it just needs a clean and a dust as well. It's just, you can tell
it
it's
does look terrible.
In comparison to if you're standing in the London Megastore looking at that cabinet, if you do a 180 and look behind you, there's the Star Wars section. Now, I know that there's vast amounts of Star Wars merch in comparison to Doctor Who. I'm aware of that. There's lots more. But it's just the display stand has got a bit more love as well. It's got new signage or recent signage up across the top, and all the labels are nicely done, and it's all done very nicely. But the Doctor Who, it's still got those really old 12-year-old FP little Doctor Who stickers along the front of the shelves, and it's just got no love at all. So either stick some good stuff in there or just get rid of that cabinet, because it kind of reminds you of a bit of a bit of a car boot sale. Do you know what I mean? When you've gone, anyone that's been around a car boot sale will know that it's just people just selling off the crap that they don't want anymore. And it's got that vibe about it. It's just got, the only new thing in there, like you said, was the little 5-inch, was it 5-inch or whatever it was? The doll, the figure.
Oh no, they didn't have that. They didn't even have that. They'd bunged in the 13th Doctor Barbie doll. I think.
The Barbie thing,
yeah. If anyone wants to see this cabinet, just head over to the Blue Box Instagram account or have a look. I think you did post it on Facebook as well, didn't you? Just go if you want to see this. It's just, the sad thing is there are loads of little, although the section's a bit drab at the minute, there's loads of little bits they could put in there just to fill it up. You know, they've got like card holders and those funny metal things that you have to bend into shape. They've got one of K9 and they've got loads of little bits that they could put in there. I'm amazed that the manager hasn't sort of said to one of them, come on guys, shove something in there, just make it, you know. There is plenty of stuff they could put in there.
Yeah. Well, they could
even though it's not good stuff, there is stuff.
No, well, they could even get a nice backing for it. You know, they could print out, you know, even like, you know, the recent Doctor Who images that you saw with Jodie and Graham and Yaz, and, you know, and it's behind a big colourful background and stuff. They could have made like an acrylic backing for it, so at least it looks nice, and they could have draped a T-shirt over the part of the shelf to fill it up a little bit and stuff. It's just had no love whatsoever. It's terrible.
No, and it's a shame because we were saying, weren't we, when before Series 11 kicked off, we were saying, they've got the T-shirt out, you know, as it starts, and they seem to be getting it together in sync in the series and the merchandise. Everything started off so promising, and we both thought we were going to go back to the glory days of walking into FP and seeing all this lovely merch, and it's kind of gone back to being just dribs and drabs again, hasn't it? I went into my local toy shop, localish toy shop, on Friday. I had some work up in Oxford, so I missed the train home, and I had an hour. I thought, I'll just go and have a look in the toy shop because I know someone who works there. I've known her for years, and she laughed. She said, I bet I know what you're in for. And I was like, what? And smiled. She said, those new Doctor Who figures. And I went, oh, you've got them, have you? So even my local toy shop, they'd got a nice row of about 12 Sonics. Next to it was the 10-inch Jodie figure. They'd got 3 of those. And then underneath, they'd got about probably 20 of the new 5.5-inch figures. So they'd got a nice little, nothing special, but there it all was, all neat on the shelf, all coordinated. And I thought, oh, that's nice. I didn't have the heart to tell her that I'd already got all of it because she was quite excited. She's like, because she knows I love Doctor Who. But yeah, at least it was there, and it was nice to walk into a shop and see a bit of Doctor Who merch, neat and not covered in cobwebs. I'm thinking, yeah, come on, FP, up your game, because I do love FP. It sounds like we do love FP, don't we? It's just that they seem to have just taken their eye off the ball a little bit with that display. It used to be so good in there. I think that's the problem. It used to be awesome. You used to walk in and the Doctor Who section used to be so awesome. But
I remember that cabinet being reserved for like
special things.
Yeah, like special edition Titans or special like little bits that you couldn't just take off the shelf and go and buy. You had to ask somebody, "Oh, can I have a look at this, please?" Because it looks know. So it's just they
did actually, because there was some big. I can't remember which company did it. It might have even been Titan, but did these big vinyl Daleks, but they were quite expensive. They were like 80 odd quid or whatever. But they looked great, and they had those in the cabinet, but they were very limited. And it was things like that, wasn't it, where you you could actually see the limited product out of the box in the cabinet. Oh, look at that Dalek, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh dear.
So you didn't buy anything then? Nothing Doctor Who related anyway?
No, I picked up a few Star Wars bits. But yeah, Doctor Who wise, no, it's just very dry in there, mate. Even went downstairs and I look at the comics. That's shrunken down a lot now, the section with all the comics in. And
that was the thing I was most disappointed with, because they do get the Eagle Moss figures in. Yes, and I do order them from FP Online, but for some reason they just haven't received stock of the last couple. So the Zarbi, they never got or haven't got yet. And then the latest one is the Pirate Captain from the Pirate Planet. So I was thinking, okay, hopefully they'll have some on the shelf, because they haven't been able to send it to me, via post. And they didn't have any at all. They had this is probably Eagle Moss's fault, because they are so bad at supplying. But they didn't have any of those as well. And I was really gutted. I was hoping I'd come out of there at least with the Pirate Captain, because just a week earlier, I'd gone into WH Smith, and this is near where I live, and I could see one behind the counter. I was like, "Oh, the Pirate Captain," because occasionally they just randomly get them in. And so occasionally I managed to get one from Smith's. But I said to the woman, "Oh, can I have that? Can I have that Doctor Who magazine?" And she went, "Oh no, that's a customer order, I think. Let me just have a look." And she opened this drawer, and in this drawer was 3 Pirate Captains. This giant Dalek. Oh, what's he called? He's like a special edition of the magazine. Dalek. Oh, what is he called? Prime Minister, I think. Right. Which looks gorgeous. And again, it just seems impossible to get. And another one, it wasn't the Zarbi. I can't think what it was. Yeah, in this drawer. And it was like the drawer of like the Holy Grail. So all this light. I was like, I want all of those. She said, no, these are a customer order. He just hasn't picked them up yet. And I was like, Are you sure he's coming for them? Because if he's not, because I was like, that one's been out for a while. Are you sure he wants them? She's like, no, I can't sell them to you. And I was like, oh no. Crikey. But I kept thinking it's all right, because I'll be in FP at the weekend. And if Smiths have got them, FP are bound to have got them. So I was a bit gutted. Yeah. Yeah.
Forbidden Planet, eh?
Yeah.
It's like it's like one extreme to the other. Sometimes you go in there and it's just, there's loads of cool stuff. I mean, there's loads of cool stuff anyway. That's there's always cool stuff in there. But in terms of Doctor Who, sometimes you'll go in there and you'll just be blown off your socks. You'll be like, wow, they've got new T-shirts. They've got stuff that was discontinued, you thought, but then they've got loads of that in there. So that's cool. And they've got loads of, but times like now, I mean, it's surprising because of with new Doctor Who being on recently, you would have thought that they would have been on it and capitalised on people being in sort of Doctor Who mode, if you like.
That does remind me, actually. There was a thing yesterday, wasn't there, that there was the toy fair in London where they sort of showcase up, and all these different companies showcase up and come in toys, and that they're going to put out in the new year. And Character had a stand, and they did have what did they have? Oh, it was a companion set. None of these are confirmed. They're just there as prototypes to say this is what we're hoping to bring out in the new year. And there is a companion set, hopefully, on the way of Graham, Yaz, and Ryan. I'm assuming it's a set of the 3 together. Right. And I think that was pretty much it for new stuff. There wasn't a lot. I think there was some weird TARDIS thing that you scan and it becomes 3D on your phone, and I don't even know what that is. Yeah. And there was one other thing, which a Sonic that you can use as a pen or something. It was all a bit. It wasn't very enthusing. It was a bit like, oh, is that it for? But I think there's going to be other stuff. I hear that there's going to be more exclusive B&M sets, which just makes the blood drain from my face, because they tend to get really nice sets that are supposed to be cheap, but are almost impossible to get your blimmin' hands on, because people go and buy them all up and sell them for hundreds of pounds on eBay. I just hate the exclusive B&M stuff. It's so hard for me to get my hands on it.
Well, I think that's what the new companion sets are, aren't they? B&M sets?
No, I don't think so. No, I think there's going to be a 4th Doctor TARDIS is rumoured, which is going to be a B&M exclusive. But yeah, oh dear me. Apparently they've got a few sets on the way.
Oh, right.
But it's just the fact they're so hard to get. Not the sets themselves. They're normally quite nice, and they're normally, being B&M exclusives, supposed to be quite cheap because they're a budget store. But trying to get them for the retail price is normally ridiculous. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I know what you mean though. So some of this stuff was announced, wasn't it, at London Toy Fair?
That's it, Toy Fair,
the last couple of days. And yeah, so with the exception of the 12th Doctor's Sonic and the 13th Doctor's Sonic reissues, yeah, I think it's just the light painting Sonic, isn't it? I think that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And
but the one I've been looking forward to is the 13th Doctor TARDIS. I thought, when the figures come out, I was looking forward to the flight control TARDIS, but apparently that's been put on hold. So I'm like, okay, so I'm guessing that's not going to come out until Series 12 now. I'm guessing.
Probably.
I mean, it's just been put on hold because apparently they weren't even shown it in time to produce it or something. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm all for Chibnall being secretive, but you've got to give the manufacturers something to go on.
Of course, yeah. Otherwise you end up with geek sci-fi merchandise shops with nothing on the shelf.
Exactly.
It's like, I know.
Yeah.
But that was my trip to FB, though, in a nutshell.
And mine, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I haven't really done too much, mate. I've enjoyed watching some of the cool features on the season 18 box set because obviously I had to dig it out because I wanted to watch Genesis from the new box set, or the recently released box set, should I say?
Yeah.
Actually, that must be coming up for quite a few months. That's been out now. When did that come out? Season 18?
Season 12.
12, sorry, not 18. Yeah, 12, sorry.
It's funny you say that, quite a while, isn't it? And when did that come out? June? I can't remember now. But it's funny you say about the features because I thought I'd watch them all. And then I was obviously watching Genesis for the review. And I realised there's actually some on there I still haven't watched. I mean, they are absolutely loaded, aren't they, with special features? I was like, I can't think what it was. There's some feature of where somebody's recorded an interview in the BBC bar back in the 70s. I was thinking, what? I don't remember. What's this? So I was listening to a bit of that. There's all sorts on those discs. They're brilliant.
They're very cool. I really like the 3D environment mock-ups. When you go into the menu, so when the disc finally gets through all of the idents and everything, you just got the menu screen and you've got those really nice sort of little 3D pass-throughs of the TARDIS interior and stuff.
Lovely.
Really, really well done, aren't they? Great stuff.
Oh yeah, they are lovely.
Yeah.
The Tom one's really foreboding though. The sort of background music, whereas Peter's one on the season 19 is a bit more.
Yeah, a bit more upbeat. Yeah. Yes, that's what we've been up to. Let's get a couple of bits of news bits done.
Yeah.
That's a weird sort of dinky-dink. It's Mr. Baker's birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Tom Baker. How old is he now?
It's 85.
85.
Come on, 85 years old and still rocking and rolling.
Do you know, he looks very good, actually. He looks very healthy recently. I was a bit worried about Tom. A couple of years ago, he had a bit of he wasn't too well. And I remember he sort of shut down his online autographs shop and was like, I've got to have a bit of a rest. And then he was in hospital. And I was like, oh no, because if anything ever happens to Tom. But I'll tell you what, he's bounced back since that was about 2 years ago. Since then, he seems absolutely full of like health and energy. And when I saw him at the London Film Fair that last time, and he come out after like 4 to 6 hours of solid signing, and he still was like posing for fit photos and meeting people. I was just like, God, this guy is just incredible, isn't he, for his age? Absolutely amazing. And now he's just released a novel. It's just there's no stopping the man. He's incredible.
He's a machine.
He's the Doctor, isn't he?
Yeah,
he is the Doctor to me. I think if anyone ever says, can you pick a favourite, I do always go for fourth. He is my favourite, I think.
He is potentially the most well-known, well-liked Doctor of them all, I would say, from the classic years. But, well, arguably all of Doctor Who. But, yeah, when we were chatting last week, or a week before, we were saying, what are we going to do for this week then? Let's do a Tom story, because we got we got a few of his to get through in terms of classic reviews. Let's do a Tom story. And it just happens that it's the same week as he's just turned 85. So it's a nice coincidence to do a Tom story around his birthday. But Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, it was a bit. I remember a couple of years ago, you and I actually saying that. You know, I hope Tom Baker's okay because he's gone very quiet of late, and you just don't hear any. There was a period, wasn't there? You just didn't hear anything at all, and we were a bit worried. So
I remember he did a video just saying, I'm going to be just closing the shop, and his face looked really thin. I was like, oh dear, Tom doesn't look too good, and he went into hospital for whatever. And yeah, I don't know, you worry, and then but it just since then he's just like seems to be full of colour. Yeah,
indeed, yeah, and he put out a little video message, didn't he, on his birthday as well, and
that was nice,
really funny, and but like you said, he just looked full of life. And
I loved what he said. He was like, what was it? He's like, an hour ago I felt like I was 70. 10 minutes ago I felt like I was 75. 5 minutes ago I just thought it was the way the stuff he comes out with, I just love it.
He's great, isn't he? You could sit and listen to Tom for so long and not get bored. It's just endless stream of
the stories that man can tell,
anecdotes and little sayings and stories. It's amazing. So very big happy birthday to Mr. Baker. 85 young, it seems.
It does indeed, yeah. And he is absolutely loved, mate. I tell you, I posted my picture with him on Twitter, and it's probably the 4th or 5th time I've posted that same picture over a period of time. And it still gets like over 100 likes and 20 retweets. I'm just like, he's just so, it's nothing to do with me in the picture. It's just Tom. He's absolutely loved, isn't he? and absolutely, not just me, but Twitter was just full of people posting their pictures and birthday messages to him, and Facebook was as well. And yeah, absolutely love. So happy birthday, Tom. 85.
Indeed.
85. Right, moving on. Is a cool bit of news. David Tennant, the 10th Doctor himself, is starting a podcast.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah. And he's got some really cool guests going to be on it as well, including Whoopi Goldberg, Olivia Colman, John Hamm, Jodie Whittaker, Kristen Ritter, Michael Sheen, Ian McKellen, to name but a few. So you can subscribe to this podcast now on iTunes, and it's called David Tennant Does a Podcast with The.
It's just with. I think they mistakenly put the.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just I
see with,
control.
and then they'll add the guest. Is that right? So it'll be like David Tennant Does a Podcast with, and then they'll insert name here.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And other exciting news that goes along with that, it would seem his lovely wife, Georgia Tennant, who's got quite a reputation on Twitter and Instagram for posting. Well, she posts all sorts of normally really hilarious stuff. Yeah. I think she's talked him into this. She's got him onto Twitter and Instagram, it would seem. So there's 2 accounts been set up, which she's tweeted about. To do with this podcast, but they are still set to private, so they haven't quite gone live yet. But it looks like David Tennant's joining social media. So on Twitter, it's just David Tennant Pod, and Instagram, it's David Tennant Pod. So just remember David Tennant Pod. They're still set to private, but presuming they're going to go live quite soon.
Yeah.
And if you want to follow his wife Georgia, it's Georgia E Tennant on Twitter, and Georgia Tennant Official on Instagram. And she is well worth following. She posted a great thing of David Tennant and Peter Davison changing a light bulb recently, didn't she? And she's like, how many doctors does it take to change a light bulb?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And you got Peter Davison up on a chair, and you've got David Tennant staring up, sort of very like, what's going on here? Are you sure this is the right bulb? Sort of thing? Yeah.
That podcast sounds great though, doesn't it, mate? I'm really looking forward to this. Do we know when it launches?
It doesn't say anywhere when the podcast is starting up, but it does sound very cool. Now, I'm wondering whether to be honest with you, I can't see this being David Tennant's own personal Twitter account. I honestly can't see.
I thought so.
Yeah, because he's always said from the beginning of time, that's an over-exaggeration, from the beginning of social media, anyway, he's always said that he has absolutely no interest in doing any of that stuff. He doesn't see.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I remember listening to him on a radio show donkeys years ago when he was the Doctor. And they were asking him, why aren't you on Twitter then? Why? Because fans want to know what you're up to. And he said very early on, he said, look, people don't want to know when I've just got up. They don't want to know that I've just brushed my teeth. They don't want to know that I've arrived in London for an interview. They just don't. And I think everyone's thinking, yes, we do. We do. Everybody wants to. But he just doesn't see the point in that stuff. So I would imagine, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing that Georgia will probably run this account for him. It'll probably be a bunch of pics of when he's doing his podcast, and she's taking photos of him and his guests and sticking that. So I'd be very, very surprised if David Tennant himself tweets from that account or anything. So yeah, I wouldn't get everyone's hopes up in thinking that you're going to be replying to David Tennant on Twitter or anything like that. It sounds like it's going to be a managed thing.
I would think so, yeah. He might do the odd one or two, but yeah, I can see that. A bit like Davison. I mean, Peter Davison was on Twitter for a while, and then I think it was wasn't it over Jodie's casting? He kind of got a load of backlash, and he quit Twitter, didn't he? He just said, I can't cope with all this. You know, you just can't say anything on Twitter nowadays. And so he left, and I think he briefly came back, but I don't think he's on it anymore. Or at least if he is, he's not active, I don't think.
Yeah. So just a quick update while we're on the show. I just had a look at the Instagram and the Twitter account. They're now unprivatized.
Are they?
So you can go ahead and stick a follow and stuff on there. So currently at this time of recording, which is Wednesday morning, David Tennant on Instagram has got 1,298 followers.
Blimey.
Yeah. So that'll rocket, I reckon. That's going to go through the roof.
I'm adding him now. How many has he got on Twitter?
How many has he got on Twitter?
How many David Tennants have you seen today?
He's got 161 followers on Twitter.
Is that all? Must have literally just gone live.
Yeah, literally just now. Yeah.
I'm adding him. He said he was the only one. Right, so I'm just adding him now. What is it? David Tennant Pod. He said he was the only one. David Tennant.
3. Oh, how good would it be if he had just 3 followers? We could drop that one in.
Only 3.
You must not blaspheme, then I'm on. You're a meddlesome hussy.
Blimey, yeah. He said, guys, I think I was right. Follow. I'm his 162 second follower. So there we are. Amazing. So Instagram's gone mad, but yeah, that's crazy to think.
Yes, I'm clicking on it now. I can see your little face. There you are.
Surely he's going to get more than that. Would be very disappointing if he only got 200 followers, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, the news only broke this morning, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, I imagine it will blow up fairly soon. Yeah.
Well, yeah, cool, excellent. Right, followed David Tennant. Let's see what he comes out with.
Excellent.
Yeah, excellent. Just followed him on.
Right, while Adam's mucking around on his phone, I'm going to get our metal friend in to see what merch he's got for us.
Get him in.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
Dalek stories.
Yeah. Eric Saywood.
×2.
Yeah.
So the novelizations for 2 of the Dalek stories that have never been released before in BBC book format, i.e. a book.
Never.
Will be coming in July and November. So these 2 stories, the first one being the 5th Doctor story, Resurrection of the Daleks.
Oh, I like that one.
And old 6's story, Revelation of the Daleks.
Yes.
Will both be released via in hardback format as expected to begin with at $12.99 each. And these ones are quite cool because, as we just said, these have never been put out in books before. And they're by Eric Saywood, the original scriptwriter. And the novels are only 2 of the classic era novels, never been novelized, and their publication more than 3 decades after their first broadcast on TV. So this is kind of cool. I know you're not a fan of the covers of these. But
no, I think, I don't know. Are they growing on me slightly? But no, I'm not really a fan. They're just a bit weird. They look like, I thought they were like temporary covers. When I first saw them, I thought, they're just, they're just there until we get the proper covers. And then No, these are the finished thing. It's just they're very sparse and they're in a style which is very different to what we normally get for Doctor Who, which is not a bad thing. But I'm not a fan of them, no. I mean, I'm glad that we're going to get proper Target style covers next year when they release them in paperback. So next year we'll probably get something. I don't know. They just look a bit. They're not. Yeah, I don't know. They might look nice in hand, but the covers certainly aren't grabbing me at the moment. I mean, they're basically the same cover for both books, but in different colours. And it's just got a Dalek in the middle, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the covers. What about you? Do you like? I've got a feeling you might like these.
They're okay. Yeah, actually, yeah, they're okay. It's got like a very very stylized, simple. I would say it's kind of a classic design. Like the font is very.
Yeah, what does it remind me of? Yeah.
But yeah, it's very. It's like as far away from a Target cover as you can get, I suppose.
Yeah.
In terms of design, but yeah. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as for the books themselves, I'm very excited because I mean I love Resurrection of the Daleks. I think I've always loved that story, and I like Revelation as well. Actually, when we reviewed it for the podcast,
yeah, that's pretty good.
It was better than I remembered. I actually really quite enjoyed it, mainly due to Terry Malloy as Davros. He's just so good in it. But I'm very excited for these books. Don't get me wrong. I really am glad that they've come out. I'm glad that Eric's done them.
Yes.
As well.
Yep.
He's such a dry old stick, isn't he, Eric? I love him. I mean that in the nicest way. I really find him such an interesting guy. So he's very dry. He's very dry. But I'm glad that he's done them and that and they are finally getting novelized. So I'll definitely pick these up. I probably will get these hardbacks, even though
of course
I would rather wait to get the Target covers. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the fact the uniform, though. That's the thing. I think, although I don't like the covers, I can imagine seeing them on the shelf because they are so similar. It's sort of quite nice to have the two. Does that make sense? It'd be quite nice to have them back to back, with the similar covers. So, yeah, I don't know. Slightly growing on me, the covers, but not a massive fan.
Yeah. Well, there's enough of a gap in between to actually read them as well. So, Resurrection of the Daleks will be out on the 18th of July. $12.99, and then Revelation will be out on the 14th of November.
Oh, right, okay.
$12.99. So you won't get them together on this shelf for a while, but at least you get a chance to read Resurrection until Revelation comes out.
Yeah.
And Eric, he does say, resurrecting these tales may turn out to be a greater revelation than you'd expect. Old Eric. Doing his thing.
I can hear him saying that as well. When we saw him in an interview with Matthew Waterhouse recently at the BFI, he's actually quite a funny guy, isn't he? But he talks very slowly and he's very quiet. And I can just imagine him saying that sort of stuff. But yeah, he's quite a funny chap.
He's
got a very dry sense of humour, yeah.
Very deadpan, yeah.
Deadpan, that's the word, yeah.
There we go. Two books coming up.
Yeah, you'll be getting those, won't you, as well?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Good reads, yeah.
Yeah, there will be.
Anyways, news and merch done.
That's it.
Time for review.
Yes, this has been a while coming, isn't it?
Hit me.
So yeah, Fourth Doctor very much in our subconscious this week, isn't it? With his birthday and the Doctor Who mag and his new novel. But we are going back to, is it 1975?
Oh, is this the top
this
of your
came
head,
out?
Is it?
This is off the top of my head. I think it's 1975.
Correct. Yep.
For Genesis of the Daleks.
Davros has created a machine creature, a monster, which will terrorize and destroy millions and millions of lives and lands throughout all eternity. He has given this machine a name. A Dalek.
To hold in my hand a capsule that contains such power. To know that the tiny pressure of my thumb, enough to break the glass, would end everything.
We foresee a time when they will have destroyed all other life forms and become the dominant creature in the universe.
That's possible.
We'd like you to return to Skaro at a point in time before the Daleks evolved.
Do you mean avert their creation?
In a few weeks, we're going to change the shape of that map forever. We'll wipe the Thals from the face of Skaro.
exterminate.
So who is this Davros?
Our greatest scientist.
We believe that Davros has changed the direction of our research into something which is immoral, evil.
We must keep the Khaled race pure.
When victory is ours, we'll wipe every trace of the Thals and their city from the face of this land. Our battle cry will be total extermination of the Thals.
Why did you come here?
To stop the development of the Daleks.
Why?
I have seen the carnage and destruction they have caused as weapons of hate and machines of war.
Exterminate!
You must stop them!
I will go on!
You are insane, Davros!
Perfect. Now we can begin.
There we go.
What an awesome trailer.
That trailer doesn't get you in the mood for watching it, then...
That's awesome. I love the music and everything. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I sometimes when I can't find the official trailer, there's this one channel that always brings the goods. And I always ironically, I was going to say remember, I always forget the name of the channel. But yeah, it's a really cool trailer. When I watched it earlier, I was like, I want to watch it again now. It's called Veritasirum UK. I think it's called Veritasirum UK. Yeah. Go to that channel. This channel has got so many good fan-made trailers, and that one's awesome. Yeah. Yes. Right then, let's get into this. Genesis of the Daleks. It was first out, as Adam said, 1975, between March and April. 6-parter. It was written by Terry Nation. It was overseen by Robert Holmes and directed by David Maloney. It's got a huge cast in this one.
It has, yeah.
And the story, we all know the story, don't we? We all know the story. So the Doctor is on his way from Earth to the Ark, I think, or the other way around. And he gets intercepted by the Time Lords, and they send him on a quest to Skaro so that he can... they don't sort of say explicitly, but he reads between the lines and basically says, you know, we want you to stop the Daleks from being such an imposing force and slaughtering billions of lives throughout the universe. And here's a ring to get back.
Yeah, the time ring.
The time ring. So off they go to Skaro, and then, yeah, the big drama unfolds between cat and mouse a little bit. And, we see, as the title suggests, the Genesis, the very first creation of the Daleks. So I know this is going to be a silly question, mate, but what do you think to this one?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think it is one that's regarded really highly. And occasionally you see people say, oh, it's overrated and stuff like that. But I'm in the camp that absolutely loves this story. I've seen it many, many times. I don't get bored of it. I really do love it. I think much of that is to do with Michael Wisher's unbelievable performance as Davros.
Yeah,
he's so good in it. I just think the overall story is great as well, because obviously, we've had quite a lot of Dalek stories before this, and it's very much sort of like Daleks, doing what Daleks do. This gives us a totally different slant on the Daleks. It introduces Davros, their creator, and it's just fascinating seeing, sort of going back and seeing the origins of the Daleks being created and being this, starts off with them being voice controlled by Davros, and then they fit the gun and they slowly become the Daleks that we all know and love. And in the middle of this, you've got the great TARDIS team of Tom, Harry and Sarah. I just think it's a brilliant story. There is a bit of padding. I will acknowledge that, because it's 6 episodes. I think if this had been a 4-parter, I think it would have been absolute dynamite. I mean, it would be killer. I know they did the edited version at one point, which we saw at the BFI, didn't we?
That's right.
And it's bizarre, because when you get an edited version, there are always bits that you sort of that you personally like that you would have kept in. So it's really difficult actually to decide what you would cut from this. I mean, for me, I'd cut out all the bits with the clam and all that. There's a bit of sort of escape capture goes on, which you could definitely tone down. But overall, I think it still holds my attention all the way through, even being 6 parts. And I think it's a great story. Really do enjoy it. Over to you. What do you think?
Yes. So, yeah, I'm not really into this one, mate.
I don't believe you. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. Yes. No, it's one of those stories where, and I'm not talking about fan hype or anything like that, because they went through a phase, didn't they, when they first released the classic DVD of this. They put a red sticker on it that says,
"Oh yeah,
number one's
voted
story.
number one."
Yeah, something like that. So it gets the fans going a little bit. But I honestly believe that this is just classic Doctor Who gold. This has got all the elements in there that just make it such a great. Well, I mean, I can't remember how many times I've watched this one. This was the second classic Doctor Who story that I watched when I got into Doctor Who.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, after Pyramids of Mars. This is the second one. And I think I've seen it, and I watched this last night for the review, just to refresh. And I think that has been maybe the 7th, 8th time I've watched it. So not a huge amount, but, more than most of the other classic stories. And every time I watch it, it feels like I'm watching it for the first time, if that makes sense. There's just little bits in there that you didn't realize were in there before, little bits of dialogue that you love, and little just tiny bits. And like I said, it's just one of those things where everything comes together so well. It's just all the bits that make up a brilliant classic Who story. So it's written brilliantly. And there is some controversy around whether Terry Nation was responsible for all of it 100%. There are some people that believe that it was rewritten in a few places and uncredited and stuff like that, but that's never been proven. But it's written brilliantly. The direction is really good for a static set most of the time.
It is, yeah.
The performances are just fantastic in their own way, especially Tom and Michael Wisher.
Yeah.
And then you've got just the whole encapsulating story as well, and you've got it just all comes together, and it's brilliant. There is a bit of padding. I agree with you. There is a little bit of, we could have done without running around this corridor for a little while. It doesn't really move the story in any way, shape or form. But yeah, a huge fan of this story. And I'm not just saying that because every other fan likes it. It genuinely is. There's a reason why it's voted highly all the time consistently. Because it's just such a great watch, and never get tired of watching it.
It feels very gritty and adult to me as well, but also has enough charm on that to be appreciated by younger audience. So it gets that balance just right for me in terms of it could appeal to adults and kids alike, which is quite difficult sometimes to do. I mean, there's a lot of killing in this. There's a lot of people getting gunned down, but it's not done in a way that's shocking or gratuitous, or there's no bloodshed or anything. But it's a very gritty production, and it's the way it's filmed as well is gritty. Like the locations, the quarry, and the gas masks, and all the stuff in the studio. They've sort of turned the lights down a bit, and it's really well produced. It just looks fantastic for when it was made, I think. And like you said, I've watched this loads of times. I watched it again this week, so I watched 3 episodes on Monday, 3 episodes on Tuesday, and I mean, I probably didn't need to watch it again because I've seen it so many times. But the reason I did is I thought I'm never going to remember. It's such a large cast, and me and you are quite bad with names. And I thought I've got to watch it again to try and remember everyone's names when we're going through the cast list. And even now, I'm thinking, what were they called again? Because it is a huge cast in this. And like you said, everybody just seems to be on point, don't they? Everyone gives such a great performance, even if they're just a minor sort of background character that gets a few lines. Everybody's just so into the story and the production. It just flows brilliantly. I think
it
feels like a proper drama. It doesn't. It's just in terms of its tone, it's so well produced.
It does, and I think plenty of other times when we've reviewed classic stories, there's been a few members of the supporting cast where we say things like they were really good because you can tell that they've bought into the role and they're doing it, completely 100%. They're not holding back. But yet other cast members, you feel like they're a little bit, probably when they got cast, they needed the job. They were actors who were, working actors who needed money. So they took the role and then they thought, what the bloody hell's this? What is this crazy thing? Whereas in this story, every single cast member is just bang on, aren't they? The performances for everybody.
That's a good way of putting it, actually. Yeah, everybody into it is bought into the story. That's a really good way of saying it, actually. You do feel like everyone is just so into their role, no matter how big or small the part. Everybody is into the story, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. With the exception of a couple of little OTT Dalek deaths. Nobody is chewing the woodwork. Nobody's going off, trying to get an Oscar. Nobody's, it's just properly performed, to the script. The direction is great because they're doing, exactly what it's just all works. The performance is just great. And that's what, sometimes you've got one or the other with Classic Who. Sometimes you've got a cracking story, but then you've got people like, oh, crikey, they're ridiculous performance or they're just not into it. The other way round, which is more sort of prevalent to newer Doctor Who, I would say, where you've got a pretty weak script or story, but you've got someone like Matt Smith who's just absolutely bombing along and carrying it, and it's really good. But you don't have to worry about with this story. Everything is there, the whole shebang,
and it all gels, doesn't it? Because I was thinking as well, one thing I forget when with Genesis is that it's in Tom's first series. He's still finding his feet as the Doctor, but he's absolutely 100% the Doctor, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
And him and Harry and Sarah have such great chemistry, the three of them. And so to think that this is, Tom's first series, where did this come in the series? Was it fourth or fifth? It's not the last story, is it?
I think it's the fourth one.
I think it's the fourth one, yeah. But it's early on, still early days for Tom as the Doctor. But you'd never know it. You'd never, there is no point in this story where I'm sat there thinking, oh yeah, you can tell this is Tom's first series. He's not quite got into the character, or he's not really gelling with the companions. They feel like they've been together for ages. The sort of chemistry between the three of them, and the little sort of one-liners between him and Harry and Sarah, and it's just the way it flows is brilliant. And I must have been quite a relief for the production team at the time, because when you cast a new Doctor, I think this is the series where we have a lot of classic monsters, don't we? Because they, in case the new Doctor didn't work, they thought they'll have a series of classic monsters, so at least people are tuning in, not knowing how amazing Tom was going to be as the Doctor. He may not have even been cast when they made that decision, but this series we get Daleks, Cybermen, Sontarans, all in one series, just as it was sort of a safety thing, wasn't it? Just in case the new Doctor wasn't good. But I mean, Tom just smashes it out of the park. Really does.
Yeah, he does, absolutely. Yeah, we'll come on to Tom in a bit, but yeah, he just it's just amazing to watch.
He is, yeah. Every minute he's on screen, you just can't take your eyes off him.
And they took a couple of unusual choices as well, didn't they, for this one? So it's one of a couple of stories. I think the one before this or one after, you just don't see the TARDIS at all, do you?
No, that's right. No, because like you said, they get given this time ring, which I remember when I was, when I first watched this as a kid. I don't know how old I would have been, but I remember buying the VHS, the double set with a very garish reddy orange cover. And I remember that's sort of first time I introduced to the time ring, because I was just like, where's the TARDIS? Come on. And it is a strange thing. I mean, it does throw up a few comedy moments, like when it gets dropped and stolen and, and all that. They can't lose it because it's their lifeline back to the TARDIS. But it does add an extra element of danger. But it's, I mean, I love the TARDIS. So I would have loved to have seen it appear at the start in that quarry. But it does add something different, doesn't it? It does make it a bit different than not having the TARDIS to run back to and rely on to escape and all that. It gives it another edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the VHS cover, the VHS 2 set, it was the Centauran experiment as well, wasn't it? In the same set.
That's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So you had, so you had a really cool picture of a Dalek right in the middle, and then Tom's face to the left, and then Davros to the right. So that sort of dominates the cover, and then right at the bottom, you've just got a little Centauran popping up.
Is it? I don't know. I've probably still got the VHS somewhere, but I can't quite remember. I just remember it was quite a bright cover. But I'm googling it now to see if I can. Yes, there we go. Yeah, you're quite right. Is there a Centauran on there? Let's have a look. Oh yeah, he's at the bottom.
He's right at the bottom, isn't he?
Yeah,
So,
I see. Yeah.
So that always made me laugh about the old VHS cover for it, because you've got essentially the BBC selling Genesis of the Daleks. And we'll just throw Potato Head on there as well. Just so
he's in it. Yeah. That brings back memories.
So I was in two minds about watching this either on the classic DVD that they released, widespread, or the season 12 box set. And part of me wishes I'd have watched the classic DVD now, because with the season 12, it's not one of those stories where they've redone a bunch of visual effects like they have for some of Peter Davison's era in the season 19 box set. And the picture quality is not hardly any different. It's hardly any different to the classic DVDs. But the thing is, when you've got the classic DVDs, you put the DVD on, you've got a couple of copyright notices, and then you're into it. You're on the menu, and then bosh, away you go.
Yeah.
As much as I love those Blu-ray special editions, there's so many flipping things you have to sit through.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the idents.
There's loads of them.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, they do the weird BBC symbol with all the pins, like black and white thing, don't they? That goes to. Then they do the new 13th Doctor intro for some reason. They do that thing, don't they? Showing the new Doctor Who logo.
Yeah, with the little crystal asteroid things. And
that's it. That thing shooting through.
Yeah.
And then you get the navigation thing.
Yeah.
Then you get Tom saying disc 4. And then you finally, I think there might, I don't know if there's anything in between that, but then you finally get to the sort of menu screen. You're like, oh, right, fine, play. But yeah, I know what you mean. It does take a while to get into it. Yeah.
Yes.
I did think that. It reminds me, there's a family, I mean, I'm not a massive Family Guy fan, but my partner is. And there is an episode of that where he goes to cinema and he keeps thinking it's the start of the film, but it's just the intros to all these idents. And I always think of that when I watch these things. It's quite true.
And I missed the old, oh no, it wasn't on the classic. Was it on the classic ones? You know, the To Entertain little.
Oh, yeah.
Is that on the classic ones, or is that just on the modern Doctor Who? I can't remember. Anyways.
It's on some classics, yeah.
Yeah, anyways. That's here nor there. Here nor there. It's, I'll just mention it because we were going through some of the old covers, but I'll tell you what one of my favourite covers for this is, while we're on the subject of covers.
Well, it'll be the Target one, I expect.
No. I do really like the Target one, but they released this as an audio story from the BBC radio collection.
Oh, yes.
Which they brought out as a cassette tape, believe it or not. For any young listeners amongst you, a cassette tape is like an analog version of a CD. It's got physical tapes in like a plastic casing. It's rather retro now. But they released it and it's got a beautiful cover. It's essentially just Davros sort of, and they've sort of darkened out the scene. It's all moody and there's a Dalek at the bottom shooting like a laser beam out and it's all dark and moody. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone wants a cool cover, look for the BBC Radio Collection from 1988 or 1999. Sorry, 1989. Take your pick. It's a beautiful cover, though.
It is one of those stories that does lend itself to good covers as well, because there's so much in it, isn't there? I mean, there is so much going on that you could use for a cover for this.
Yeah. One thing I want to note before we crack on, do you prefer the opening scene as it is, or would you have rather the toned down, less violent Terry Nation version?
No, I like it as it is. I mean, I think it's I think it does what it's supposed to do without being, gruesome. It just, I prefer it how it is. What about you?
Yeah, I like it how it is. Because you mentioned earlier that this is more of it feels like a more grittier, mature story.
Yeah.
Which I completely agree with. But the opening scene, around the quarry when soldiers are getting shot and slow motion, all that stuff. Apparently Terry Nation kicked off after the director, David Maloney, basically said, look, this is not powerful enough to open the story. We need to grab people's attention by showing people getting shot because we're in the middle of 100-year, 1,000-year war or something.
Yeah.
And so they redid it. David Maloney redid that bit, and apparently Terry Nation wasn't very happy because he felt like it was too violent for the younger viewers watching it.
I can see back in 1975, it might have been a bit like, because as I said, you don't see any blood or anything, but there's something very creepy about people in gas masks, and they're in this dirty quarry, and there's smoke everywhere, isn't there? Like the dry ice and stuff. It's a really sort of atmospheric scene, and then they're literally getting shot in slow motion, and then something about it is very eerie. And I really like it, but I can see why perhaps back in the 70s it might have been a bit like, a bit strong for a kids program, but
yeah.
But I wouldn't want it not to be there. I think it's visually, it's a really good scene. And I love that opening bit as well, because you get that Gallifreyan with his big old black hood and Tom and that little scene between the two of them, I think is such a good start, where Tom's like, leave me alone, stop interfering, like go away. I've done you more than enough favors. And they're like, Daleks. He's like, okay, tell me more. And it's such a good scene.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, and but it sort of cuts from that sort of nice humorous and just giving you the lowdown of what the story's going to be to something quite gritty. I think it works really well.
Yeah, Mary Whitehouse was all over it, of course.
Oh, I bet she was, yeah.
But a thing I like about that, though, is that how they continued Tom's Doctor and his dislike of the Time Lords throughout his run.
Yes, yeah.
It's so funny and gritty at the same time, because if we fast forward to the brain of Morbius, he's absolutely doing his nut at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
because
he's
thinks
sulking, isn't he?
Yeah, he thinks the Time Lords have grounded him again to get him to do something, and they haven't. Of course, it's completely not that at all. But he's got the right ump, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And even Sarah Jane's like, "Oh, sod you then. I'll leave you there to sulk and go off." So I love that they continued his disdain for the Time Lords all the way through his run.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Yeah,
yeah. I think he does have a few run-ins as well, doesn't he? Like in Deadly Assassin and Key. No, not Key to Time. What's it called? The Time. What's the one where he goes back with the Sontarans? Anyway, he has a few run-ins with the Time Lords over the years. The Fourth Doctor, and it does work well.
Yes.
Yes.
So, what do you think about this one then being sandwiched in between? Before we get on to some cast performances and little story bits, so this is sandwiched in between some other classic Doctor Who stories, isn't it? So previous, we had the Sontaran experiment with the old potato heads. Now we've got the Daleks, and the next one is Revenge of the Cybermen.
Yeah, yeah.
So you get like a triple whammy of classic Doctor Who monsters in one series. My question to you, good sir, is would that have worked in Series 12?
Series 12?
11, sorry. In Series 11, Chibbers was adamant that there was going to be no...
Oh, I see what you mean. This is like the opposite, because you've got loads of... Yeah,
he was adamant. No classic monsters returning. It was to be new adventures, all that lot. If they flipped that on its head and they had like at least 2 or 3 stories throughout that series of bringing back these big classic, do you reckon it would have made a difference?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I think in hindsight, it probably would have worked. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I think during all the stuff we got before that, in the RTD and the Moffat era, the problem was that they did really overuse like Daleks and the Cybermen and even the Sontarans to an extent. And, with Strax and things like that, they popped up a bit too frequent. So in one sense, I think they really did need to have a rest, for the new series. So it felt good that it was fresh, but I don't know, with this series, with Tom, it really works. As I said, it was a bit of a safety net, that they did in case the new Doctor didn't work out, which they obviously in hindsight didn't need at all because Tom was amazing as the Doctor. But it does work, I think. And they flow quite nicely as well. I think the Sontaran experiment is a great little two-parter that kind of gets forgotten, doesn't it? Because the series, because it's such a strong first series. Revenge of the Cybermen, probably gets overshadowed a bit by this as well, because that's the thing. Genesis of the Daleks is such a mammoth 6-part story that really has so much great stuff in it. You know, the 2 stories either side do get sort of not lost, but they get sort of knocked down a little bit because of it. This is a mammoth story that kind of overshadows them. So,
and then after Revenge, actually we have a four-way whammy, I suppose, because after Revenge, it's Terror of the Zygons.
Yeah, well, yeah, it would have been. I think because that was initially planned to be part of this series, wasn't it? I can't remember the reasons why it got pushed into the next series.
Yeah.
But that would have been an incredible end, wouldn't it? What a run of stories.
Amazing.
You know, I mean, Ark in Space is great. I really like Robot as well, although it does feel a bit of does feel like it belonged in the Pertwee era a little bit. But I like all the stories in this first series. There isn't any of them that I wouldn't happily sit through.
Yeah, I was going to say, this series, what a cracking series of Doctor Who.
Have we reviewed the Cybermen Revenge? I can't remember. Revenge of the Cybermen. I've got to look at the schedule now. I don't think we have.
Say no, we haven't.
Yeah,
no.
I'll be careful on what I say about it then, because
we haven't done the Ark either. So
Ark in Space.
Yeah, we haven't done that either. So tread careful.
Blimey, I was sure we'd done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'll do. Oh no, we haven't. Yeah, so we haven't done Ark in Space, and we haven't done Revenge of the Cybermen. So, yeah, I'll keep stum.
Yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I feel like going from, because another interesting thing is that I'm pretty sure that Tom's era didn't have many Dalek stories, did it? Did it only have 2 or 3?
This one, Destiny. That might be it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's only, because although we're saying that in this particular series, there's obviously a few stories that feature those big classic monsters from Who. We only get treated, really, to Tom facing off against the Daleks in 2 stories, I believe. And in this one, he doesn't actually face off against them, does he? There are no scenes where it's Tom versus a Dalek. It's just him sort of running away down a couple of corridors. But it's mainly about him facing off against Davros.
Yeah,
you know?
And I think that's the thing. That's one of the things I really like about this is I love the stuff between the Doctor and Davros. I mean, it really does make the story for me. It's so intelligent in the way it's written. It's not just the Doctor having a fight with a villain, and it's 2 really intelligent people sitting down having a conversation that are on totally opposite sides of the coin. And I tell you, there are certain scenes that I just can't, when I'm watching this, I'm waiting for them to pop up on screen. Mm-hmm. And one of them is that scene with the Doctor and Davros, where after he's been, finished interrogating the Doctor, Davros says to him, "Stay a while, talk as scientists, man," and it's just superb. And I remember when in the Capaldi story, is it the witch is familiar and whatever, I think they sort of tried to do that again. And I remember thinking they didn't quite get it. It almost worked, because I thought, this will be interesting to see Capaldi's Doctor with Davros. This will be, if they sort of, they don't need to mimic the same scene, but if they have that same respect between the 2 characters and just showing that actually they're both very intelligent, then we've got a great scene here. And I remember thinking it didn't quite work. I can't, it's a while since I watched that, but they almost get there. But the Doctor kept coming out with silly, quirky lines to Davros. And I just thought, no, you're killing it. Whereas in this, the Doctor and Davros are both on the same level, and they actually, discuss things like adults. It's like, there's none of this sort of silly, childish writing that we get in the new series. It's just showing that they're both on the same level but different sides of the coin, and I love it. Absolutely love that scene. And I wish it sort of went on longer in a way, because the Doctor finally turns off his life support, doesn't he? It says, make the command, and I think, oh no, I'd have liked it if they'd have just chatted a bit longer, but got the tea and biscuits out and stuff. But it's a great scene, and it's not something you get very often, is it? It's not. Normally, the Doctor just finds the baddie, defeats them. You don't normally have these quiet scenes where they actually just sit and talk. And, Davros is explaining why he thinks he's right, and the Doctor's saying, well, you're wrong. And I think it's brilliant. It's one of the things that really ups the story in terms of my ranking of it is just how intelligent it is in its writing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that the way that Terry Nation, I don't think he took the focus away from the Daleks, but in a way, because they could have very easily made this into a typical, the Daleks are after us. And it is kind of like that in the last couple of episodes, especially episode 6, I suppose, when the Daleks have been cut loose, if you like, and they're off to, destroy everybody. But because Terry Nation focused it, pretty much all of it, on Davros, this whole story is about Davros, really, when it comes to it, because he's mentioned very early on, when he gets captured by the Kaleds at the beginning, and then they transfer him over to the science building, whatever, so Davros can question him and all the rest of it. He's mentioned early on, and then he's in pretty much he's in a large portion of every episode, pretty much, isn't he? And it's all about his mindset and his insanity and his just ruthlessness and so on. It's all about that stuff. It's all about, because if you boil it down to its most simple form, yes, it's just about a crazy scientist dude who, does crazy tests on people to sort of evolve them into this killing machine. But, if you dive into it a bit more than that, it's about all of his craziness and all of his I wouldn't say he's evil, because he thinks he's doing things for the right reasons, doesn't he? He in his own mind, he thinks he's creating these Daleks because nobody's able to oppose them.
I'm never sure if I'm never sure if he's evil or if he started off with good intentions, but just somehow just lost his way and gone a bit mad. You're never sure with Davros, because there's that bit where the Doctor says, if I gave you a capsule that could wipe out an entire life force just by crushing it or whatever, would you do it? And Davros you can see he's sort of gone to the dark side, isn't he? He's thinking, yes, power over life and death in my hands.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And then, I mean, that is such a great scene again, and so you can sort of see that actually he's a little bit, would you say he's a little bit sort of schizophrenic maybe? Because he's intelligent, he's got the means to be good, but he's somehow, like I said, gone a bit sinister, isn't he? He's lost the plot a little bit somewhere along the lines, and he's just, I think it's this thing of power has just taken over his mind, which makes him very unpredictable,
Absolutely, yeah, and that's what I was saying. Yeah, he thinks in his own mind that he's creating these Daleks because he wants, on the face of it, he wants to just bring the war to an end. He wants peace, but in order to do that, he needs to win the war. In order to, so he thinks that the Daleks will be unopposed because they're so powerful and all that stuff. But then, as the story goes on, he does grow into this sort of monster, if you like, because he's now got to the point where, okay, the Daleks are, doing what I wanted them to do. The whole scene with the voice commands and all that stuff. He can control them. But then he gets to the point where, actually, Doctor, you've given me a great idea here. Maybe I could develop this virus that will kill everything. And, maybe I could do that.
And he's realised, isn't he, that this machine that he's built that could, carry on the life force of this race is actually could be turned into one of the most powerful machines in the universe. And it's suddenly that power that's gone to his head of it's taken him to the next level, isn't it? So what started out as a sort of saving a race has turned into being the ultimate race, of control. And it's just that it's the power that he's suddenly realized he's got in his hands.
Yeah.
He just can't control.
And this is what leads back, I think, to such a great foundation for the script, because it's common knowledge that Terry Nation based all of this stuff on the Second World War and the rise of Hitler and the Nazis and stuff.
Yeah,
and
you could definitely see that, can't
absolutely.
you? Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels between the Kaleds and Davros and Hitler and the Nazis and stuff. So because it's grounded in such a powerful but an awful story, and all that, it just has so much weight to it that then it's just, it's how do you tweak that to make it an enjoyable science fiction show? So in a way, it does have a very dark undertone.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of classic Who does at time to time. It does have a very darkness to it, because you also have the moral dilemma that the Doctor finds himself in as well. You know, the classic
another
scene.
Great scene, yeah.
You know,
do I have the right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got everything wired up. He's ready to do it. And surprisingly, you've got Sarah Jane, who's really up for it. She's like,
yeah, I know, yeah.
She's like, do it, man, do it.
You've got to do it, yeah. That is an amazing scene.
Yeah, that's like
that's another one. I keep thinking, it's coming up. It's the bit where he's got the wires. It's coming up. There's so many scenes like that I love. And there's another scene where Davros is lurking in the shadows when Nyder tricks Ronson, I think it is, into revealing all the names. He's like, thank you. That's exactly what I needed to know.
Oh, he switches.
Disappears out of the darkness. I'm thinking, all these little scenes are just so many that I just sit there thinking, this bit's coming up. Oh, this bit's coming up. Oh, this is a great bit. There's so many moments in this story like that. And you're right. It is very much a Davros story. Well, it is a Dalek origin story. But yeah, you're right. Davros takes the lead in this. And I think that's great because he's so good in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do consider it a fantastic Dalek story because they're so early on in their creation and they're still uncontrollable, really. The Davros is trying to work out how to control them, makes them very dangerous. Mm-hmm. And you really feel that, don't you? You sort of, at the end when they turn on Davros because he hasn't quite got it right and all that, they're very unpredictable, these Daleks. They're very early on in their sort of mentality and stuff, and it's brilliant. I think they are really scary in it. Like, when people are hiding from them, you think, you genuinely feel the fear. Mm-hmm. Like the bunker scene where you can see the shot of them going over the top of the screen and they're hiding in the bunkers from them. They are really well utilized in this story, the Daleks, even though, like you said, Davros pushes the story forward. But I think it's a great Dalek story.
It's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it just, like I said earlier, it gets all of those things really correct. And they also build upon the story that runs through the 6 parts, if you like. So the overall story, if you like, which is the Great War, which they're trying to win. But the thing I like about it is they inject these little sub-stories as well. So you've got the kind of paranoia between Davros and Nyder and those guys. And then you've got like the science, the scientists, they've got their own agenda. Some of them think that what Davros is doing is immoral and terrible.
Yeah.
And then you've got some of them that are on board with Davros and some of them are not. And then you've got some of them trying to trick the other ones. It's just there's a whole extra layer of stuff going on.
Do you know, there's a bit at the end, I mean, considering how many times I've seen this, there was a bit at the end, which I probably have noticed it before, but it just jumped out at me this time, which I absolutely loved. And it comes back to just what you were just saying about different layers of characters in this. There's a bit when Davros is saying, who's going to join me? And like one or two, cross the room to his side. And he's like, is that all? And then he says to one of them, something about mending his heart. He goes, you were dying and I gave you a new valve in your heart or something. Are you now going to turn that heart against me?
Yeah,
and I thought, blimey, just in that one line, we've got a whole story there of like, and it shows how brilliant Davros is as a scientist or whatever. And, but how he has done good things. He saved that man at some point and done whatever he did to his heart. And what a great line. And it just, as I said, I've probably have noticed it before, but it really jumped out at me on the rewatch last night. I thought, God, what a great line. Are you going to turn that heart against me that I saved? And amazing stuff. Just little bits like that. Whole backstory there in like one line.
Yeah, it's great. And Davros is one of those characters that really, he's got such a great mind as well. Not just as a scientist, but how he turns the people against themselves as well. So he goes off to the tribunal, whatever it is,
right.
gives them the formula underhandedly to sort of start attacking, because he knows that when they start attacking, that then gives him a reason to start letting the Daleks loose. So it's all there. I mean, the writing is brilliant. I'm not talking about the script, but just the story ideas and the little bits that they injected in there.
Yeah.
So in a way, you can kind of excuse the padding over 6 episodes. Although
definitely. It doesn't bother me at all.
No. Yeah. Although it's there and you're aware of it, it kind of makes sense in a bigger, in the bigger picture, so to speak. It's really cool.
Just you saying about the writing as well, Davros is written so clever in this, as well as being a bit bonkers and evil and all of that stuff that we get to see in other stories from Davros. He's so intelligent in this story. You know, he's so much more than just the megalomaniac that, I mean, as the stories go on, he does become a little bit crazy. We kind of lose a little bit of that, I think, in some, you know, even stories that I absolutely love, like Remembrance of the Daleks. When Davros appears in that, he's kind of just a shouting, screeching. He's gone mad, you know, and we see elements of that in this. And I don't think it's a problem, because you can probably argue that over time he just got worse and worse and worse. But in this, he does have those moments of madness, but he's also got those moments of quiet and just really clever calculating. You can almost sort of hear the cogs clicking in his head.
Yeah.
You know, he's written so well. But I love the fact that when he does start losing it, and this is another thing that's so clever in this story, when Davros starts losing his shizzle, he starts turning into a Dalek, doesn't he? So he goes from being Davros to obey, and his voice goes up and he sounds like a Dalek. And I just think it's so well done, you know, that when he starts to really lose his mind, that he goes into being a Dalek, which is what he's created. And again, it's just a real clever bit of writing or performance, whatever you want to put it down to. I mean, I love Davros in other stories as well, but I just don't think he was ever written better than he is in this story. His character is so defined and brilliant in this story.
Absolutely. I think they did bring it a little bit back to this original way that he is when Russell T. Davies wrote him in, what was it?
Stolen Earth.
Stolen Earth, yeah. Because in that story, he's not so crazy with it. He has got a bit of a calculated plan, even though it's flawed from the beginning, because he's in cahoots with Dalek Khan.
That's right, yeah, who is mad.
Yeah, so it is flawed, but he does have a calmness in that story in a similar way that he has in this one.
I need to watch. I haven't watched Destiny of the Daleks for some time, and I just don't remember the performance standing out anywhere near this. But it's a long time since I watched it, and have we reviewed that one? Because
no.
I just I mean, when I think of Genesis of the Daleks, I think of Davros, and I just automatically remember what a great performance it is. I can't remember how he's written in Destiny. I need to revisit that, but it's certainly not up there with this. I'm sure of that.
No, I don't think so.
No. We'll get around to that if we haven't done it. Yeah.
No, we will. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just he's so amazing on screen in this. From every minute he's on screen, it's just so engaging.
Yeah. No, I agree, mate. Talk about some characters in the story then, because there's a couple of standout ones that are really good. I thought that they're all good in this, but there's a couple of standouts for me would be who's the scientist guy that first starts to quiz the Doctor. He's in the white suit. He's got the white hair, and he's
Ronson. You talk about the guy that's sort of starting to get a gang together, and the white. He's the one that gets obliterated at the end, isn't it? It's really has a really long death, doesn't he?
That's right.
That's the one you mean, isn't it? Yeah, Ronson.
Yeah. So he's the guy that sort of shows a bit of compassion. So when Davros is doing the very first demonstration of the Daleks, and then he transfers complete control over to them, it turns on the Doctor and Sarah Jane, is it? And he runs over and disables the switch, and Davros kicks off at him.
That is another great scene, isn't it, as well? Yeah. How dare you interrupt?
How dare you interrupt this experiment?
Yeah. You'll suffer for this. Yeah. But that's brilliant, because I thought he gave a great performance. So who's the actor? I hope we're getting the name right, because I'll tell you, I really struggle with the amount of casting. So I think it's James Garbutt, I believe. So. Gives a great performance, because he's got that. He's not evil, but he's doing his job. But he just has got that compassionate side to him as well, where he's sort of sensing that actually what they're doing is not right. He thought it was, but no, actually he's realised that things are going a bit off the boil. And when he steps in and saves the Doctor in that scene, I think it's brilliant. Davros is absolutely furious, but you can see the terror in his face. I think he acts it really well. You know, he's just like, no, I need to question them more. They could be valuable and all this sort of stuff. And I really liked him. And he from that moment onwards that he sealed his fate, because you just think, he's gonna get it for that. And he really does, doesn't he? Like when Davros That's the other thing. Davros just doesn't shoot him there and then. He simmers for another good couple of episodes thinking, right, he plots exactly when he's going to let him get his comeuppance. And then when he delivers it, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. James Garbutt's still with us as well. I think he's 93.
Is he?
Something like that. Yeah, he's still going. Yeah. I thought his performance was great, though. Really
I'm just trying to, I hope I've got the right name. I'm sure it was Ronson.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Siri tells the Doctor his friends. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just looking at the plot. I'm sure it was him. Yeah.
Yeah. I also really liked Garman, played by Dennis Chinnery.
Yes, he looked really familiar, actually.
He was in all the usuals before.
Is he one of the Z cars? I should imagine.
Z cars, the Saint, the Avengers, the Prisoner. He was in all of it. Yeah.
Oh, the Prisoner. That'll be where I know him from. Yeah.
I thought he was really good. He kind of leads a little bit of an uprising towards the end, doesn't he? He rallies all of the remaining scientists, the military folk, to sort of have give this ultimatum to Davros. And he's strong in mind and stuff. And he's a very strong character, even though he gets rumbled and captured and stuff. I thought his performance was really good, quite intense. There's quite a few intense performances, isn't there?
Yeah,
in this one, but I think he nailed it as along with James Garbutt. Yeah.
Yeah, there were three. I mean, there were three. He stood out. Ronson stood out, and there was the guy. And again, I'm not sure of the name. The other guy in the white suit. Kept thinking he looked a bit like a young Paul Weller. I don't know what his name was.
Yeah.
He was very good. There's a bit where he goes up to a guard with a sort of baton behind his back. And,
yes. Yeah.
And all that. I wish now. Do you know which character that was?
I don't
Servin,
know.
maybe. I don't know. I tried so hard to remember everyone's names, and of course they've all gone. But he was very good as well. Those three, just the way they were conspiring behind Davros's back and all that was just. They really played it well.
Yeah.
I thought those guys.
Yeah. The other guy who I thought was really good was the Muto that sort of befriends Sarah Jane.
Sarah Jane. Yeah.
And I no idea what his character name is, unfortunately, but
no,
I just thought he gave a great performance, and because he kind of saves her life, doesn't he? Because the other Mutos are ready to kill her, and
that's right, yeah.
And then they stick together, even when it takes them 5 years to climb up the scaffolding.
That rocket, yeah. When we talk about padding, and that's another bit that, unfortunately, you could put in that category of bit too much padding there. Yeah, it's a great cliffhanger though when Sarah Jane falls off and it freeze frames. It's kind of a bit of a shame about the resolution actually, because it's tied up pretty quickly. but it's a great cliffhanger, that, isn't it? Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. What about Raven then? You know, the Kaled sort of military leader who's very shouty, Guy Sinner.
Sinner, yeah.
Sinner?
I think it's Sinner, yeah. I always think I just can't see him as anything other than the character from A Lower Low.
A Lower Low, yeah.
Hello, Renee. But he does suit the part great, I think. I always think he's in it more as well. He seems to disappear after 2 episodes, doesn't he? What happens to him?
Well, he's in it. Yeah, he does. He is in it up to the end. He is in the last episode. I
only watched this last night. He just doesn't. I always think he's in it more because he's so prominent in that first scene when he meets the Doctor, when he's like, "Take a good look. You know, we're going to reshape this map," and you sort of think, this guy's going to be trouble. But after that sort of initial scene, we don't get to see him do that much. I think it's a real shame, actually, because he is good.
Yeah. Is it the last episode he's in or episode 5? I can't remember. But Davros basically gives him a list of stuff and says,
that's right.
I need all of it. And
yeah,
he's not a fan of Davros, you can tell, but he's following the cause, supposedly.
That's right. Yeah, but he is good. I mean, he's quite shouty. It's a good scene between him and the Doctor at the start there when he's really sort of laying his authority down and stuff. But the Doctor, that's what I love about it, is he's really going for it, thinking the Doctor will knuckle under, but the Doctor being the Doctor just kind of ignores him, doesn't he?
A little bit.
Kind of doesn't show any fear at all.
Yeah. I thought the Time Lord at the beginning was a good little scene.
Yes, love that scene actually.
John Franklin Robbins
rolls off the tongue. Yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Kind of the pompous Time Lord that we sort of get from this sort of era. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And they could have easily gone down the Doctor, there is a big threat amongst the universe. It wasn't like that at all. It was that very smirky kind of, I know you're going to backchat, but you're going to do it anyway, so.
because I love the bit when the Doctor says, "Oh well, give me the coordinates and I'll go there." Then he's like, "No, you're already here.
That's
Goodbye."
brilliant. That
and I
bit.
thought, "Oh, that's really good.
Isn't that cool?" And he's like, "You're already here, so crack
You're
on."
already here.
Yeah.
That was good.
Okay, what about Nida, Peter Miles?
Absolutely. Oh gosh, I love Nida, and what a strange but brilliant performance from Peter Miles. He's so odd, but so creepy, and I love Nida. And I love the fact that he's always at Davros's side as well. He's just always there. You just know, you just wouldn't trust him. I just love how he's always lurking in the corridors as well, listening behind walls. And there's that scene when the Doctor's like, "Open that safe," and he's like, "No, only Davros has the code." He's like, "No, Davros couldn't reach that. You're always at his side. It's obviously you." And he's so good in it. He's brilliant, actually. And the way he delivers his lines, it's just bizarre, isn't it? But it works. 100% works. Like, "What shall I do with this?" They're just, just so, I don't know, so weird, but brilliant.
And I liked his, the scene where he's with Garman, and he's got a little smile on his face, and you do question yourself. You think, is he being genuine here? And he tries to sort of portray that he's against Davros and he wants to join the rebellion sort of thing. Yeah, and he's got a smile on his face and everything. And then when he gives him the names, he just switches instantly, and he's like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
And then Bosch, they're all over him. He's really good in this. Brilliant.
Shall I kill him? No. Yeah, it's so, I think he is just, he works so well in contrast to Davros. I think he's just so creepy. Great performance from Peter Miles.
Yeah. Very, very cool.
Again, there's so many scenes that I look forward to seeing when he's on screen. Like, he's going to say it in a minute. He's going to do that line, like, "Thank you." And all that. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a shame we lost Peter last year, didn't we?
We did. I know. Sad. I had a lovely chat with him at the John Pertwee Memorial Day in Wimbledon. This will sound ridiculous, but we just happened to end up in the VIP bar by mistake. Me and my friend, we genuinely
by mistake.
It was, honestly. We went upstairs because we were told to go, but we went into the bar and he was in there, and we didn't even realize until we weren't asked to pay for our drinks. We thought, that's a bit strange, and then we realized that it was got like the celebrities in there, and we were chatting to Peter Miles for ages, and he was such a nice man. He really was. And he was a bit like Tom Baker, had some great stories as well. I can't remember what he was telling me about now, some film he'd been in. And anyway, he was charming and a lovely man. Yeah. And we sadly lost him last year, but he had a lot of people had so many nice things to say about him.
Mm-hmm. And he was modelled on somebody from the war as well. There were two of them. So Davros and Nida, they were modelled on specific characters from the Nazis, and I can't remember the name of who Nida was modelled on, but because did you notice in the first few episodes he had a cross, an iron cross on his
I noticed that,
and then they dropped it as they got through filming, because I think it was a bit too far in terms of symbolising.
I wondered that, because I've never really noticed that before, and I just wondered if it's because I was watching the Blu-ray that it in heighten the picture or something, because I did notice that early on.
Heinrich Himmler he was modelled on.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. And then Davros, I think, was modelled on some crazy German scientist that did nasty experiments in concentration camps and stuff. So Terry Nation just nailed every reference and stuff, but Peter Miles especially, he's just got that cold-hearted, ruthless to the end. And he's cunning as well. He's a crafty little one, because he escapes, doesn't he? So he's quick as well. So when when the Doctor and Sarah Jane and Harry capture him and they're about to question him, something else happens in the scene, and like a whip it up a drain pipe, he's like gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, he does it a couple of times. He's a crafty little one.
There's a great bit. It's somewhere near the end of the episode, near the story, end of episode 6, when I forget what it is. He gives this really nice evil smirk. I think it's just before Ronson gets killed. I think he knows it's coming, and there's a line, and he just looks in absolute glee in his face, and then immediately shuts back to being serious. And I just thought, it's all going on in the face. You know what I mean? You just that he's just evil to the core. Nida.
So we've spoken about Michael Wisher then. Just an outstanding performance.
Absolutely incredible performance from him. I mean, he's wearing all that mask and latex, and yet he's delivering a standout performance as Davros. So he's incredible in it. The way he goes from being intelligent to insane to, talking with the Doctor, and just the way he delivers the performance is unbelievable. Just absolutely amazing. Yeah. It's such a shame that we lost Michael Wisher, because obviously in the following Dalek story, Destiny, we get David Wisher. No, that's not right. This is Michael Wisher. Who do we get? I've forgotten his name.
Is it Terry Malloy? No, it's not. It's
David Goodison, isn't it? David Goodison, who gives a good performance, but it's no disrespect to him, but for me, this is the ultimate performance of Davros, and I love Terry Malloy as Davros as well. I think he is superb, especially in Resurrection and Revelation. But for me, this is the standout performance of Davros. Michael Wisher just gets every emotion from Davros as well. One thing I did notice that I've never noticed before is his little blue light goes out. I don't know if the bulb went or if they forgot to switch it on in the suit, but I noticed about halfway through the story that because he's lit out blue for a lot of the time, and then it's just not switched on for the rest of the story. And I kept waiting for it to I thought, maybe it's just switches on when he's going mad, but it doesn't.
Well, in episode 2, it flashes. It sort of comes on and off intermittently, but then after that, it's just, the bulb's gone, mate.
I'm just surprised I didn't notice it earlier. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, it's weird. But no, you're right. Yeah, David Goodison after this. But Michael Wisher, crikey Moses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to comprehend how you would play a character like this. Because because you've obviously got a great script in front of you, which is why he took the part in the first place, I suppose. You've got this really good script, but then it's really down to David Maloney, the director, to get that performance out of you. But the thing I like about Michael Wisher is that his intensity level doesn't dip at all throughout the entire story. So even like those long days, I suppose, because he's in it a lot, an awful lot. So even those long days of filming where, like you said, he's behind all the makeup and the mask and stuff, he's just still like non-stop, foot on the gas from start to finish. It's just incredible to watch. It's such a joy to watch.
And it's amazing, isn't it? Because there's no movement in that mask apart from the mouth. The rest of it, the eyes don't move. It is just a solid latex mask. So to be able to convey the amount of emotion and the performance he gives is quite incredible, really. Because think about it, it's all in the body language, because there's nothing facially apart from the mouth. Right. If you think about the scene where he's saying, that would set me up above the gods. It's all in the voice and the body, and because there's nothing from the mask at all. And I just think incredible to give that performance under. I mean, the mask looks great. I'm not saying it really does, but there's no movement in it. This is early days. It's all him. It's just all in his voice and body language giving that performance.
Yeah, and my only criticism, and this is nothing to do with Michael Wisher at all, it's more about the production really, is the anticlimactic moving of switches on his little console.
Yeah.
I think that's more down to the special effects department, because they'd have had like a cool little buzz or a sound or something, because there's a few scenes where his hand really slowly goes towards the switch.
Yeah.
And then he's got this sort of over-exaggerated like...
I see what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? And then but then it's just silent. So if they'd have put like a little sound effect in there, it would have. But yeah,
I love his tapping finger as well. The anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that was in the script or if that's just some little mannerism that he's brought to the part himself. But it's good because it's such a simple, just the tapping of the finger on it shows his sort of underlying anxiety and the stress. It's like he's all calm as a cucumber, laying out the rules, but underneath he's simmering, isn't he? Waiting, just that, well, I'm gonna get you sort of thing. It's just a real simple little thing, and I love it. Every time I see him tapping his little finger, I think, Davros is on the edge again.
Yeah, no, I read it's one of the best performances in Doctor Who, It's really is up there with one of the best. It really is.
Oh, I'd agree. I think he's superb in it. Yeah.
What about our TARDIS team then?
Yeah.
Sarah Jane and Harry.
Well, I love this TARDIS team. I
It's
wish
good,
we'd
isn't
had
it?
more. I really wish we'd had more because I think they work so well together, these three. I mean, Tom and Liz are brilliant together when it does become just the two of them. They really, they're such a great TARDIS team. But I do like having Harry there, and I think he doesn't feel like a spare part to me. I think he's a great character. He gets stuck in. There's some great scenes between him and the Doctor as well, because I think the Doctor sometimes gets a bit irritated by Harry. But then he sort of has to acknowledge at times that if Harry wasn't there, he'd probably be dead, because Harry does save his life, and things like that. But the comedy between the three of them as well, the camaraderie maybe is perhaps a better word, is just brilliant, I think. I think they all deliver a great performance. They're all really likable. And I just think they're a great TARDIS team. I kind of wish we'd got more of the three of them in the following season rather than just Terror of the Zygons. But, there we are.
I was going to say, he jumps on the train, doesn't he, in Terror of the Zygons? He doesn't even go back in the TARDIS. He's just, I'll see you later.
Yeah, I can't remember the reasons for Harry leaving, for Ian Marter leaving. I can't remember what, whether it's his choice or why he left or whatever. But I don't know. It's a double-edged sword, because I love Tom and Liz together when it's just the two of them. I think they are fantastic. But yeah, it's nice. It's a nice series, this, I think, with the three of them. I think it works really well. Yeah,
it does. And I like I said earlier, I like Sarah Jane's very over the top. Do it. It's almost like when someone's downing a pint, she's right next to you. Do it. She's really up for it. So, I think they work really well. And the opening scene where the Doctor treads on the mine accidentally and Harry's putting the little rocks underneath, and he's quite firm with the Doctor. I think he needs that from time to time.
Well, he's clever as well, isn't he? That's what I like about Harry. When the Doctor's setting the explosives and stuff like that, and Sarah Jane's like, "Well, what's he doing in there?" And he's like, "I don't know. He should have done it by now." And old girl and all this sort of stuff. But I think he is a nice rounded character, Harry.
Yeah.
I do like Ian Marter, but yeah, I just love the TARDIS team. I think they're great together, these three.
Yeah.
And they all get little bits to do as well. I mean, I think the Doctor sort of, takes the forefront in this, but they do get nice little moments in this, the three of them.
Yes. Yeah, they do. And Tom, then?
I think Tom's exceptional in this. He's so good in it. I think you said earlier about him being flawless in his performance. He just absolutely is the Doctor. There's no moment where I think, oh yeah, he probably wouldn't have done that in his second series, or he's being a bit over the top there. And it's way before Tom started adding his own little ad-libs in, as far as I'm aware. So his performance is just absolutely on the nail. The scenes with Davros, Michael Wishart, floor me. They're just brilliant. Just superb. Absolutely superb. In terms of the way that they act them out and deliver the lines, it's incredible.
No, I agree, mate. It's he's just, like you said, he nails it. He's just on. He hits every beat, every scene that he's in, isn't he? Whether he's got these lovely little. There's one of my favourite scenes, and it's only a tiny scene, is when he's talking to either Harry or Sarah, and he sort of turns. I think it's Harry who turns him and says something like, "This is where the fun begins," or we're just getting something like that, and he's got a really big grin on his face.
Yes, yeah.
I can't remember exactly the words he says, but along the lines of, this is where the fun starts, sort of thing.
It's just beginning.
Yeah, and they've already been through the mill already, but he's just up for it at that point, and he's got a great mix of like sadness and jubilance. It's just everything's there. It's just Tom, isn't it, in a nutshell? And it's hard to believe, really, it's his first series. I mean, he's just flying straight away.
Yeah. I mean, the scenes like when he's saying, the famous scene of him holding the two wires, and he's all there ready to go, and he set it all up, but then he's that last minutes of conscience of, well, actually, have I got the right to kill off this entire race? I mean, who am I? He says, doesn't he, it makes me as bad as Davros, surely. Yeah. Like, I don't know if I can go through with it, but delivered just to perfection. And along with the humour, along with the serious scenes when he thinks that Harry and Sarah have been blown up on that rocket, he's really sort of going, when he's trying to launch himself towards the to save them and all that, the action scenes, the humor, it's just everything. Like you said it perfectly. Hits the beat every time.
Mm-hmm.
He's fantastic in it. Yeah.
No, he is. Yep.
Mm.
I'm sure you and I could talk about Genesis for so much longer. So much longer, but we're going to wrap it up here. Is there anything you want to mention before we move on to scores? I personally want to mention Dudley Simpson's score.
Yes.
Very creepy and well suited. Really love his music in this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say the two last things that I'd got on my list were that I thought it was very well directed by David Maloney, and I thought the music was great in it. Dudley, I always loved Dudley's score. I don't think I've watched a story yet where I think he hasn't just done a beautiful score. I mean, it might happen, but so far I always enjoy Dudley's music. And the scenes when the Daleks come in the room, he has this sort of tinny, sort of marching score, and it's perfect. So yeah, the music and the direction I thought were great in this. Production by Philip Hinchcliffe, production-wise, it's superb. It's a little bit jarring when they cut from location to studio, I'll admit that, but that's of the era, and it still, I think, works really well. So production-wise, direction-wise, music, performance, everything's bang on in this for me.
Yeah.
And a great script, great script. I know you said earlier about there was talk of perhaps Terry had a bit of help with the script that was uncredited. I do get the feeling that might be true. But I do think it's a great script, and it's witty, it's clever, and it's just overall brilliant.
Indeedy. No, I concur, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, scores then. I think it's me to go first.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a 9.5.
Ooh. Okay. I've gone with a 9.
Okay.
A 9 out of 10. I think it's excellent. I've only really knocked a point off for a bit of padding, and the scene with the clams. The first one isn't too bad actually, because the clams often get mentioned as they're terrible.
Oh yeah.
The first one's not that bad because the lighting's quite low. It's the second time we see them where they're just static. Actually, I'm surprised. That must be a time thing.
I think so.
I'm surprised they just didn't have somebody moving it, because they're acting as if they're coming towards them. But they are just literally a static prop, and I'm thinking, I'm surprised no one's sort of giving them a nudge just out of shot there, giving some movement, because they literally don't move. And I think the Doctor says something like, they're a bit slow or something. But I'm thinking, slow? They're absolutely not. So little bits like that, I'll have to knock a point off for, a little bit of padding. But otherwise, it's a strong 9 for me, 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it's almost a 10 for me. Do I have any other little favourites within Classic Who? Yes, I do have couple of other ones, but is this just pure joy for watching classic Doctor Who? Absolutely. It's just so enjoyable, such a good watch. Everything's there. There's just a couple of little niggly bits that you would expect, but otherwise there's a reason why this is always voted in the top 3 at least, if not the top story. So I agree with all the other floods of sheep.
Yeah, so do I.
What did our beautiful listeners think? We had a couple of audio reviews in. As usual, Sammy Satine from Down Under.
If someone who knew the future pointed out to you a child and told you that child would grow up totally evil to be a ruthless dictator who would destroy millions of lives, could you then kill that child? It's one of the most quotable phrases from this episode and poses an excellent moral dilemma, hence why it was the inspiration for The Magician's Apprentice, which is familiar decades later. G'day, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, Genesis of the Daleks. I love this story. Michael Wisher as Davros is brilliant. Peter Miles as Nida is also brilliant. I actually would be really interested to learn why the Kaleds and the Thals started fighting in the first place. That scene when the Doctor steps on the landmine is tense. The scenes with him and Davros are brilliant. I can see why this is so highly regarded. If you haven't watched it, watch it. I give it 9 Kaled scientists out of 10. See ya.
Cool.
9 out of 10. I'm glad Sammy mentions that, because that's a good point. Obviously they picked up on that line, and then that sort of was the basis for the Witch's Familiar and whatever. And that's the one thing, because I like the fact Moffat picked up on that line. I think it's a really interesting thing that we get to see Davros as a young child. But one thing that always bugs the hell out of me is the question is, what would you do? Would you kill that child? Blah, blah, blah. But if I'm right in saying this, the Doctor just walks off with Davros at the end of that two-parter. and that's it, isn't it? And it always bugs the hell out of me, because I'm like, well, surely the Doctor would have tried to influence him, or to me, it doesn't tie in with the Davros we get to meet. It feels like a real missed opportunity from Stephen Moffat there. I always think that, that scene of the Doctor and Davros walking off, just him and Davros as a child.
Yeah.
What happens? It doesn't work for me, that scene, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But I'm glad Sammy mentioned it, because it does tie in with this, I think.
No, I think
the fact that the Doctor did apparently get that chance to change that child's future, but obviously didn't succeed.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Sammy.
Thanks, Sammy.
9. And this is Time Lord 0902.
Greetings, Gary and Adam. On a balmy 3-degree day, -17 to you guys, this is Time Lord 0902 with my review of Genesis of the Daleks. I first saw this episode in the late 1970s, and it still seems fresh to me now, as it did then. A bleak landscape, themes of genocide and the futility of war, great performances by the entire cast, especially Michael Wisher, Peter Miles, and Elizabeth Sladen, and one of the greatest speeches ever delivered in Doctor Who history. The "Do I Have a Right" speech shows the Doctor at his very best. His morality and, dare I say, humanity shine through. This is one of Tom Baker's most stellar performances as the Doctor. This is also one of my all-time favorite Doctor Who episodes. I give it a 10 out of 10, although I do admit that the clam scene with Harry leaves a lot to be desired. You guys have a great one. Cheers.
Excellent. Thank you very much. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, another 10. Crikey. Sorry, A10. Sorry, not another one. Thank you guys for your audio clips. Very, very cool. Let's jump over to some other social media stuff. Let's jump on Twitter. Craigie M says, I love this story. I wish Harry had more episodes along Sarah.
Yeah.
Because I think the three of them work really well. Michael Wisher as Davros is outstanding. Goes on to give it a 9.5. Hooveneer Jack says, I think that it's absolutely brilliant. A great way to experience the beginning of the Daleks, and it looks absolutely phenomenal in HD. I first experienced it on vinyl. I loved it so much that I wanted to watch it. That's very cool.
That's excellent.
Morgan, our good friend Morgan, says, a great story, although it could be shorter. Michael Wisher is fantastic as Davros, and you can clearly see the Nazi symbolism everywhere with the Kaleds. We finally get to see the origins of Daleks, but I can't help but think there should have been way more props.
More props?
I'm guessing you mean more Daleks. More Dalek props. But gives it a 7.8.
Cool.
One of our writers, Mark Donaldson, says, what new things can I say about this? About an absolute classic. Watch the feature-length edit recently. Has a really punchy ending and removes much of the interminable running around. Is the Dalek Nazi comparison more chilling when it's subtle, a la Dalek invasion of Earth? ? Maybe that's for another show, Mark.
Yeah.
Walter M. A grand epic that not only gives us an excellent origin story for the Daleks and breathed new life into them, but also gave us one of the show's lasting villains in Davros. It's not even including the philosophical debates at the heart of the serial. Agreed. Yes. Jordan Shortman, another one of our writers, says it's a great story that is a little overrated in my opinion.
Jordan.
The standout star is Michael Wisher as Davros, the best actor to play him. The main cast is great. A shame we never had more from Tom, Sarah and Harry overall. It's a classic, but that's not enough Daleks for me.
Okay.
I got it. John Hughes says, be honest, it is brilliant, but it's a little too long. The LP record, which I received for my birthday, covers the entire story events more than adequately in 60 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Undoubtedly, though, one of Tom Baker's best tales.
Yeah.
Rick Moran from the Doctor Who Appreciation Society says, everything came together on this. Easily Terry Nation's best script, great direction, tremendous performances, not just from the main cast, but the supporting cast. Easy to see why it's regarded so highly. Indeed, Rick.
Cheers, Rick.
TARDIS Files HQ gives it a 9.5. Sebling just says it's just perfect. Dare I say anything else? Edward Giluli gives it a 9.5. Matt Hennessy, hands down the best Dalek story of the 70s. Andrew Cuthbert Jr., quite possibly the best Doctor Who story of all time. 10 giant clam things out of 10. Spencer Shively, I'm hoping saying that right this time, Spencer, says, an amazing story. Watched it recently with my girlfriend and she loves it too. Great Dalek lore, one of the craziest moral decisions the Doctor's ever made. First meeting of Davros and the definitive origins of Daleks. Just how realistic it all felt. 10 Mutos out of 10. There's a couple more. Jason Who. Story will always be special to me. It's a story that took me from someone who watches Doctor Who to being a fan who buys all the merch and DVDs. My fave moment is Davros and the Doctor talking about the virus. Also love this TARDIS team. Such a shame they only got one series together.
Yeah.
That's right, Jason. It is a shame. Theta Sigma podcast says simply the best of Tom Baker's era. Performance is superb. The lead cast are all great on form. And of course, there's that scene with the Doctor's moral dilemma. Simply brilliant. And lastly, Sarah Louise Baggett, the running Whovian, gives it a 10 out of 10. Classic Who at its finest.
Cheers, Sarah.
I'll rattle through a couple of these on Facebook. Martin Arnold. It's an interesting conjecture. Yes, I believe I would do it. Blah, blah, blah. And so I have Dalek Perfection. Have I the right to review this episode? Yes, 10 out of 10. Dean Jones, a classic in every sense, 10 out of 10. Dean Pitt gives it a 9 out of 10. Joseph Howarth gives it a 9 out of 10. Kevin Mullin gives it 10 Khaled Bunkers out of 10. Charlie Turner, another 10 out of 10. And Peter Adams says, simply comment, do I have the right? Simply comment on the Big Blue Box Podcast Facebook page, and that's it. Hundreds of millions of people, thousands of generations can live without podcasting boredom, even though, okay, I don't know what that's about. So yeah.
Did he score it?
No.
I'm sure he'd have given it a 10.
Yeah. That's it for listener reviews. Thank you so much for taking the time to do all that stuff. Next week, following the schedule, we're on Torchwood. So what have we got next week, dude?
Yeah, next week it's Countrycide.
Oh, Countrycide, yes.
I remember that being a bit of a gore fest, but I haven't watched it for ages, so.
Yes.
That is the one. If it's the one I'm thinking of. But yeah, Countrycide next week.
Yeah.
Gore fest.
Gore fest.
Look forward to that.
Yes.
Won't be eating my dinner watching it.
Righto, buddy. I think we'll wrap there for 217.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sticking with us through episode 217. It's been awesome talking through Genesis of the Daleks. Love that story. I'm pretty sure we could have gone on for another couple of hours about
easily
all of that stuff. If you're a fan of David Tennant, which I'm sure you lot are, make sure you give his new Twitter account and his podcast a follow and see what happens with that.
Just looking to see how many is he on.
Next week, Torchwood Countryside. So get that watched because we'll be asking for all of your reviews, etc. for that. In the meantime, head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all of our shows on there, and there are buttons to link off to the various podcast networks. So you could give us a sub so you never miss a show when it goes out on a Friday. Plus there's buttons to go off to the social networks because we chat plenty of Doctor Who during the week. If you're an iTunes listener, if you could spare a moment for a review and a rating, that would be amazing because that really helps us. And thank you to all of those that have done so. Head over to Adam's channel, The Geeks Handbag.
Yeah, it should have a new vid out this week, hopefully.
Nice.
All things being well, yeah.
Adam's channel on YouTube, The Geeks Handbag. Give him a sub, drop a load of likes, loads of cool stuff over there from Adam. Plus, you're on all of the usual socials under the same name, The Geeks Handbag.
Geeks Handbag. Yes, I've just looked. David Tennant's on 406 followers on Twitter. Cool. So I'm still ahead of him, but I'm sure that'll change by next week.
Until next week then, for 218, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...